Hello, world. I appreciate y'all for joining me as always. This is Mike on the mic, and we gonna get right into it today. We gonna just talk about our skill positions, our tight ends, our wide receivers, our running back. We already know what's gonna happen at quarterback, and for the most part. Um, but the other positions, man, is some guys that's gonna be leaving. It's some guys that's gonna have to restructure some contracts. It's some guys that I think we're gonna be bringing in with big names. So as I said, I appreciate y'all for joining me, man, and let's get right into it. We're gonna start off with the wide receiver position. Our wide receiver position um, has been lackluster in terms of depth for years. We've never had depth. We've rarely had good receivers, but depth has always been our downfall. Um, and it still is. We got Amari Cooper. That's it. Supposed to be Elijah Moore as well in that conversation. When you start to bring that up, you're supposed to be able to say Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. Man, those two guys are top two. But in my opinion, though Elijah Moore has the potential, he hasn't shown me number two ability or let me put output, I should say. Um, to me, Cedric Tillman has a better chance to develop into that. David Bell has a better chance to develop into that. But make no mistake, I don't think either one of those guys are somebody you should go into the 2024 season and say, that's our number two guy. We're going to run with Amari Cooper, and boom, we got our number two and Elijah Moore. No. Our number two in Tillman or Bell. No, 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 no. Absolutely not. Right now, as it stands, I think Jakeem Grant, who is the guy that has not done anything for us. He was kind of a high risk, a low risk, high reward kind of guy when we signed him I believe 2 years ago. He was supposed to be a return guy for us coming from the Dolphins. He was a return Pro Bowl guy, but just had a ton of injuries, man. Couldn't stay healthy. I don't think we're going to bring him back. He's a free agent. No reason to bring him back. It was surprising to me when they brought him back last year after major surgery, and he ended up getting injured again in the preseason and having to have major knee surgery once again. So I don't think Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns are going to bring him back. We go to a similar situation with Marquise Goodwin. Marquise Goodwin is a guy that I was a fan of when we brought him in, man. He coming from San Francisco, man, a speed guy, Olympic speed, deep threat, kind of big play guy. Couldn't stay healthy. Could not stay healthy. Couldn't get chemistry with Deshaun. We saw oftentimes, man, it would just be overthrown, underthrown, looked like somebody ran a wrong route. Like the chemistry was never there. The timing was never there. And that's because he was rarely on the field, man. The guy just couldn't stay healthy. Concussions and blood clots. And it was really just bad luck with him. And I think they're going to move on from him. So that leaves us receiver wise with Amari Cooper, Cedric Tillman, David Bell, Jalen Darden, who when you talk like these are guys that didn't really get any playing time with us at all, except for in the return game. If you really watch, you would notice these guys. But and then Michael Woods, who is a guy that I'm a big fan of, has shown a lot of potential in training camp and in preseason things, but he could never stay healthy. He's never really available. And can just never crack the lineup in terms of actual game day playing time. Never healthy, can never crack the lineup kind of guy. But either way, that list of names I just dropped, none of them are number two receivers. Amari's a number one. Who's our number two? I can't say for sure that's Elijah Moore, not comfortably. I can't say that's Cedric Tillman, not comfortably. Not what I want to go into the season with when you got upgrades out here. We got upgrades out here we can get. So who's some big names we can get? Not even necessarily big names, because I got like some underground names for y'all too, man. That if y'all not really hip to other teams, if y'all don't really watch other teams, man, I know a lot of y'all just dig into the Browns and watch all the Browns games, but I got some hidden gems for y'all, man, to keep an eye on. And you know how Andrew Berry, He loved his discount deals. He loved them discount deals. But unfortunately, man, some of the biggest names I don't think are realistic, like our Mike Evans. I don't think Mike Evans is a realistic guy that we're gonna be able to get. I don't. He's great. It's not because he's not good enough. He's a great receiver. It's gonna come with a high price tag. And also, I just don't think anybody's going to have the opportunity because I do think he'll be back in Tampa Bay. Um, man, you see his output, man, 79 receptions, 1,255 total yards and receiving, 13 receiving touchdowns, man, which was tied for first. Man, the dude is, I mean, and he's been productive. I mean, the dude is consistently productive, dominant. He's been dominant. I think he's still got good years left in him, man. Excellent route runner, excellent size, makes contested catches. It's just he's gonna re-up in Tampa Bay. I don't think they're gonna let him go. You know what I mean? Um, y'all boy Baker, he had a great season with him. I don't think Mike Evans is going anywhere. That's Tampa's number one receiver. Um, Guy like that, not realistic for the Browns. Who else is not realistic for the Browns, in my opinion, but is available, and I would love to have him. I mean, if he was actually going to be available, man, I'll be all over it. It's T. Higgins. T. Higgins. Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be there. T. Higgins is an interesting guy, kind of a high risk, high reward, honestly. Um, you see the 42 receptions, the 656 total yards, and the 5 touchdowns, and those numbers don't jump out, but that's as a number 2 receiver. And that's really in a 3 receiver offense. And that's without his star quarterback this season. This dude is very intriguing. Like I said earlier, man, the reason it's such a high risk, high reward for him is because you're gonna have to pay him as a number 1 receiver. But he hasn't been a number 1 receiver. You know, Jamar Chase commands most of the attention. So he a lot of times is kind of singled up or getting that second receiver treatment, which Jamar Chase is the number 1. But T. Higgins is not your traditional number 2, man. T. Higgins is a guy that when you watch him, man, he's in the number 2 role, obviously, when Chase is on the field, but you could tell, man, he's got more potential than just that number 2 role. But I don't think the Bengals are going to let him hit free agency, even though traditionally Cincinnati's a little, on the cheap side. I don't see them letting this guy hit free agency. I mean, Burrow, I don't see how he signs off on that, man. I just don't. If he does hit free agency, man, come on. That's not even a question. And I say we go for it. He's got the Deshaun Watson connection. Like they both played at Clemson, man. You go for that all day. All day. All day. Again, I just don't see it being realistic because I think they're just gonna franchise tag the guy, and he's not even gonna have the opportunity to hit free agency. So now we'll get into our tier of guys that I actually think have a realistic shot. Like a shot to come to the Browns if they want them, and if obviously they want to come here. But these are guys that are more in our wheelhouse as far as bringing guys in realistically. For starters, we gonna go with Marquise Hollywood Brown. Yeah, the guy from the Ravens. I know he's Baltimore. I get it. But man, he played in Arizona he's been in Arizona coming off of a down year where he's dealt with injuries. Obviously, Kyler Murray didn't play. It was not a good season for Arizona as a franchise. Did not go as planned at all. But this is a guy that I like in terms of just his potential. Man, this guy is explosive. He is explosive in the right offense and the right system. And I believe what we're going to be trying to do next year, which is kind of spread it out past the ball more, I think, man, that it would be perfect. It would be what we wanted Elijah Moore to be. Except Marquise Brown has actually shown from time to time that he can actually put that level of production out. The only downside with this guy is that he's just so small, man. Which you're seeing more and more of that coming to the NFL. But at 5'9", 180 pounds, man, like that's dangerously small, man. You really gotta be careful out there. You better be electrifyingly fast and quick and agile, because that is small. And when you just walking in Walmart, that's small. But when you step on the NFL field, like that's my only issue with him. Um, Other than that, I would love to have him. Love to have the guy. Not saying he would be my top target at all, but if we added him along with some other guys, man, I would not be mad at that. Not be mad at that at all. Moving on to the next guy, he's about as close to the tier as T. Higgins and Mike Evans as you can get, in my opinion. And I mean, I guess really you could say he's in the same tier as T. Higgins, possibly even above. But in terms of the potential, man, T. Higgins, I think, is potentially better when you look at what you kind of predict he could be if he's the number one receiver in the offense. I think he's a little better than this guy, but Michael Pittman, man, you know what I mean. I'm nitpicking. I like that's all opinion based because this dude is a monster. I mean, a beast. You see the numbers, man. 109 receptions, which was fifth in the league. 1,152 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. Man, the guy is not super explosive. Gonna just wow you with his speed or anything like that, man. But the guy is productive. Productive. 109 catches, man. That top 5 in the league right there. Productive. It's not like he had some franchise quarterback throwing to him. A lot of time it was Minshew. No disrespect to the guy, but you know, he a little up and down. Not he a little up and down. Just not who you would have as your quarterback if you had the picks, man. But this is another guy where I think the Colts are not going to let him go. But it's definitely a high potential that he could be up out of there and be realistically on the market. Over 1,200 yards, like he usually breaks that every year. You see the 1,100 there, but usually he 1,200. The guy is a beast to me, a beast. It's just he doesn't jump off the page when you name top receivers, man. Only the like really nitty gritty NFL guys gonna name Michael Pittman Jr. Other than that, it's kind of just you know he's a little underrated, I guess you can say. But a guy that he's about as close to the tier one, all them guys, man. He's not in there, but he's definitely that next tier without a doubt, and he's the top of that tier. Next we gonna go on to a guy that, man, is a unique guy in the NFL because he's the guy that played for the Falcons, had a huge year. He was coming off a huge year where people were like, man, this guy's the next guy. Him and Hooley, man, he's next. He is next. Didn't pan out that way. Got caught with the gambling, betting on games, got suspended the entire year. You know, ended up signing with Jacksonville this past year. Um, had a decent little season as you see, you know, 76 receptions. He had a little over 1,000 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. That 8 touchdowns is really what jumps off the page. But the guy, I mean, he still, in my opinion, didn't reach his potential there in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, to me, didn't have a great season. So that impacted his numbers, obviously. But this is a guy that you're again going to be able to get on a bargain. It's not like he's coming off a season where he's about to demand some top wide receiver, you know, paycheck. He's a guy, an Andrew Berry type of guy, a guy that I can bring in, maybe a little bit on the cheaper end in terms of what his potential is. You know, his talent screams more than what I'm gonna have to pay him. Those are the type of guys that, man, if you notice, he loves bringing in those type of guys. The Agbo Akarankwos, all them guys, man, those are guys that were really kind of just playing into a contract, man. And I think Calvin Ridley would be a guy like that. Sign him to a couple-year deal, maybe 1 year, and see what he does, man. Big body, very big body, 6'1", Plays physical. The guy just got to stay out of trouble and really just keep a good head on his shoulders, man. And I think he'll continue to build on the year he had last year. Like I said, man, that was his first year back. I think he's going to continue to play his way back into NFL shape, and another signing that I would love. And I think the Brown, he is on the Browns' radar. Obviously, I'm not saying we're about to go and sign all these guys. I'm not saying that I want all these guys, but these are guys that I believe when Andrew Berry sits down, these are all names that'll be on his board somewhere in that office. Next, we moving on to a guy that, man, I like a lot. I'm a huge fan of, like huge fan of this dude. Is Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds, man, played for the Lions last year. A reliable guy, reliable. I know these numbers don't jump off the page, man. You like 40 catch, man? What? Man. Come on, man. Man? The dude is reliable, man. That's all I can say. Kind of a taller guy, 6'3", plays physical, great bang for your buck guy. I mean, I was just speaking about that, how Andrew Berry loves those type of guys. He's very interesting, man, because the obviously I just said he played for the Lions, man. Jameson Williamson. He was the guy they drafted. Jameson Williams, my bad. He was the guy they drafted at the position a few years ago, and had an injury coming in this year and missed the first couple games. Where Josh Reynolds stepped in and he was the starter. Like he was the guy. Him and St. Brown were the guys, the 1 and 2. And them games, which was 5 games, he had over 60 yards in 4 of them. I mean, that's good. That's good production. That's consistent production. Over 60 yards in 4 of them games. I wish we had a receiver at the number 2 position that was giving us, or at any position, the number 2, the slot, whoever, any of our receivers that was giving us that type of production. None of them did. None of that. Like we don't that type of production at the receiver position for us. Excuse me, does not exist. I'm a big fan of this dude. Again, would not have to pay him a ton. Veteran receiver, big body, plays physical. Um, just a chain mover. Like he was the guy that moved the chains for the Lions a lot of times, man. Had some drop issues in the playoffs, but other than those, I think he had like 2 drops in the playoff games. There were big drops. They were big. But other than that, man, all season he was sure-handed. Big fan of the guy. Huge fan. The next guy is a guy that, because I said earlier that his teammate wasn't going to be available, if he's available because of it, because they're not bringing both those guys back. They're not bringing Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins back, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm Mike on a mic in my house. I'm not like, I don't have no influence, but in my opinion, man, they're not bringing both of them back. And if they happen to bring T. Higgins back and Tyler Boyd is available, this is a guy I would definitely be interested in bringing in. And the thing about him is I would want to bring him in and bring somebody else in. Like he's a guy you wouldn't have to pay a ton to, but he's a name in that trio over there in Cincinnati for years. He's not just a one-hit wonder. Like, this dude has been productive for years in that system. As the 3rd receiver, as the number 2 receiver, sometime as the number 1 receiver. Like, we've seen him produce. He's killed us in games against us. Hey, big Tyler Boyd fan, man. Plays very physical, 6'2", over 200 pounds, man. He's more likely for us than T. Higgins is. Obviously, if they bring Boyd back, then that increases the chances that they're just moving on from T. Higgins. And in that case, man, I would love to have T. Higgins. He's not T. Higgins. He's not the type of guy that you're going to bring in and say, oh, he can be our number 1. He's the guy that would be able to just come in and be a very productive role in what he's already in. He can slide into our number 2 spot. I would have guys I would prefer over him, but he's a target that I think Andrew Berry would look at when and if he becomes available. Uh, again, man, these guys are I, in terms of who I would rank realistically that I would want out of all them guys. Like I said, man, I love Reynolds. I think Reynolds has a lot of upside. Him and probably Ridley would be my top choices, just because I feel like Ridley is oozing with talent, man. Like oozing with talent, oozing with talent. That guy's ready to explode. Um, if he can keep his head on straight and get into a system that fits him, which I think our system will fit. I think the Jacksonville system fit him. Is just he didn't have great quarterback play, and they also threw the ball around there. Um, Trevor Lawrence just didn't have a good season, and obviously as a receiver, that's going to impact your numbers. And he's coming back from not playing football, which I don't care what people say. Like you don't just like you have to get into game shape. Game shape is real. Uh, that's the wide receiver position, though. There's some good names out there. A lot of the great Mike Evans, man, that's not realistic for us, in my opinion. That's not even. That's a long shot. Like that would have to be. I just don't see that. But it's a lot of good names out there that can help us. A lot of good names. Obviously, I would love to also spend some draft picks. I said draft picks. I like having receivers. I think having a group, a plethora, a bundle, a flock of receivers is the way to go. That's my uh, motto. Get receivers, get talent and skill players on the field, especially receivers. It is a wide receiver and quarterback league. It so I would be willing to bet Andrew Berry is about to be aggressive in this free agent market when it comes to this position, because you cannot go into next season with Amari Cooper, Cedric Tillman, and Elijah Moore as your top three receivers. The Amari Cooper name is fine. The rest are not. Then that's not happening as your top three. Not when you got that's just not happening, man. You got to stock up at that receiver position. And I think he'll do that. He'll attack that position aggressively, just like he attacked the defensive line last year when he saw that was an issue. Like he is aggressive in free agency when it comes to being able to assess the season prior and upgrade at those spots, man. He does that very well. So I think he's gonna be aggressive again. Moving on, we're gonna go to the tight end position. This tight end position, man. Obviously, David Njoku is our guy. David Njoku is the guy. Um, had a great season, which really turned around when Flacco came in. Uh, but I've been as if y'all been listening to the podcast, man, I've been an Njoku fan for the longest. I love Njoku, big fan. Glad he finally had his big season, but after him, it's really not anything to write home about. Like there's no one that jumps off the page. Um, I thought Jordan Atkins coming in was gonna be that. The guy we signed, he was, he had played with Deshaun Watson. Uh, Back in Houston, they played together. I thought he was going to be a big part of the offense. He was not. Uh, Harrison Bryant pretty much took all second string tight end reps, taking backup quarterback reps. Like Harrison Bryant was doing everything. Speaking of Harrison Bryant, I don't foresee him coming back. I don't think as much of a love fest as they have with Harrison Bryant and how they would just try to get him on the field any way possible. It was like they thought he was some type of freak athlete. I don't know what their infatuation with Harrison Bryant was, but they clearly thought highly of him and probably still do. I just cannot, like, how can y'all, they bet not bring him back. How and for what? What does he bring to the table that you just like, man, I like that guy. I don't see it. Um, Again, they see something in him, or maybe they were just trying to give him every opportunity to try to make a splash. with this being his final season. But I think this is his actual final season. I don't think they'll re-up his contract. I think it's best to move on from him, bring in another tight end, bring in another guy. The problem with Harrison Bryant, man, he does nothing special. He's not, you split him out wide and he's not athletic or fast enough or a good enough route runner to beat a corner or a athletic linebacker that's going to go out there and cover him. You bring him inside and he's not really strong or physical enough. He's getting pushed around by linebackers in the run game. Like, he's, what does he do? Is not, he's got the body of a receiver, but none of the physical traits or attributes of one. Not, you got to move on from Harrison Bryant, which leaves me with, well, let me put it first this way, which leaves the Browns with David Njoku and Jordan Atkins right now. With Dorsey coming in, Dorsey loves that 12 personnel, just like Kevin Stefanski loves the 12 personnel, which is one running back, two tight ends. You're going to see that again, in my opinion, this year. And they're going, because of that, they're going to be looking to bring in a tight end that they can pair with Njoku. And that may be more of Atkins this year. They may use him more. To me, I think Andrew Berry is going to be aggressive and bringing in what Dorsey and Stefanski need and the offense they're going to try to run. And I think it's going to be a 12 personnel kind of spread offense, which is going to require, even if you come in and have Atkins as your number two after Njoku, like, you still need depth. You're going to have to bring somebody in. It's a lot of tight ends out there that are available, man. The tight end market is saturated. Like, it's a lot of tight ends that are capable of being decent tight ends that you're not gonna watch from game day and be like, man, who is this guy? Man, he's getting penalties. Man, he's dropping passes. Like, there's a lot of tight ends in the NFL that you can just plug in and they'll look like, all right, we threw it to him once or twice, and he caught his little 15 yards and total yards, and he missed a block here or two, but for the most part, like, we can, we kind of, it's a lot of them tight ends, but the tight end market is hard. Grady Everett is a guy that I could see us possibly bringing in, or not Grady Everett. I'm sorry, Gerald Everett is a guy I could see us bringing in. He I like the guy. Again, I'm looking at underrated, kind of under the radar guys for Andrew Berry. I don't think he's going to be bringing in some big name tight end. It's going to be a guy that's kind of shown flashes in places here or there, but maybe hasn't gotten the opportunity that we may be willing to give him, or the role that we may be able to put him in. Everett's numbers don't jump off the page. Again, he off year. Nothing special, but he's an athletic guy. He's the type of guy that he's kind of a Njoku kind of guy, yards after the catch kind of guy. They like to run screens to him, get the ball in his hands early, and let him kind of create after the catch. I like the guy. Again, this is my bias, but this is a guy I think would be on the radar because he would not be very expensive at all. Another guy who, again, these are under the radar guys that I am not saying we're going to sign, and they're just names I want to bring to y'all attention that y'all probably never really heard of, man. I know y'all heard of the Noah Fants out there and a lot of these other free agent tight ends that are out there right now, but I want to bring to y'all attention some guys that we might sign, and y'all like, who the heck is that? And that's Kobe Parkinson will be one of them guys. Unless you were watching Seattle games, man, you don't know nothing about no Kobe Parkinson. And even if he come to Cleveland, man, you still may not know about him because he one of them tight end. He's a blocking tight end. He's not going, as you can see, all year, the man had 25 catches, only 247 yards. He had 2 receiving touchdowns. He played for the Seahawks. Like, he wasn't just on the field here and there. Like, he was a part of their offense. But he's a blocking guy. Which could be what we need in this offense, because as good as David Njoku, as much as he's progressed, you need that backup. And Akins is not He's not a blocking tight end. Next, we're gonna get into a very interesting position. To me, the most interest, possibly even more than the receiver position, just because, man, at the running back position, we've got a lot of shakeup that's gonna happen in terms of who we already have in terms of Chubb, and also I think we're gonna be very aggressive in the free agent market. Um, which has parallel to the receiver room as well, because I do think they're going to restructure Amari's contract, or maybe they'll just let him play out this $20 million year. But that's a heavy price tag. But I digress. I didn't spoke about the wide receivers, but Nick Chubb's contract is a topic of discussion and is going to be something that um, I think they will restructure or do something with. I know there's people out there saying he's a possible camp cut, and cut, and I don't think the Browns are about to cut Nick Chubb at all. Like, I don't even think that's a possibility. I don't think that's realistic unless something is going on with his rehab and they just realize, like, yeah, he's not about to be the same. But I do think they are definitely going to restructure his contract coming off of a major knee injury. um, it's a heavy price tag for a running back. It's heavy coming off of that knee injury. So I think they're going to restructure that, and I think they're going to bring in somebody, not only to spell Nick Chubb for the regular season when he's back healthy and playing as a backup, but I also think they're going to need somebody to pretty much carry them starter duties for the first couple weeks of the season, because I don't think Nick Chubb will be Nick Chubb for the first couple weeks of the season. Um, he may not even be he probably won't even be available first couple weeks of the season. So you're gonna need somebody who can go in there and be that back. Jerome Ford, you had your opportunity, man. Is he capable? Yes, but I see him as more of a third string guy. Um, I don't want him being Nick Chubb's backup long term, or going into a year where we need to be thinking Super Bowl. That's not who I want. Um, Game after game after game after game, we've seen him in the starter role. Never looked comfortable. Had little moments here and there, but again, not who I would want as my backup when there are better available options. You look at who is available. Tony Pollard. That is my guy who I want. Out of all these names that I've named, man, I want Tony Pollard. Not just, I'm talking about all the receivers. I want Tony Pollard, man. Tony Pollard, I think, will fit perfectly. Uh, First of all, man, I didn't jump the gun. I apologize. Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt. We've got to talk about his situation with the Browns. It's time to move on from Kareem Hunt, man. I know that hurts some of y'all hearts. I know some of y'all y'all love Kareem Hunt. So I love Kareem Hunt. I like Kareem Hunt. That's my guy. Hard runner, die hard for Cleveland. Came here, redeemed his career. I'm a Kareem Hunt fan. Plays hard every game, but the guy's coming off core surgery. The guy didn't. For those of y'all who can't clearly see that this guy has no second level anymore, like, he has no second gear. Not only does he no longer really break into open field, like, if he did break into the open field, I don't think he has like that second gear to outrun anybody. Like, Kareem Hunt, and I'm sure that core surgery is gonna help, but it's time to move on to me. And business wise, it's time to move on. He's a hard runner, short yardage guy, but man, the league is peppered with guys like that. Move on. Andrew Berry already tried to move on last year, didn't re-sign him. Went into the season with just Chubb and Ford. The Chubb injury happened. You pretty much got in a position where Hunt was your best opportunity to bring somebody in. quickly that can just get right into the offense. Don't just move on. Good luck to your cream hunt. Um, but yeah, I think we need to let that go. Even though, unfortunately, I believe he would fit better in this offense that we're looking to run, which is more of a spread, passing type offense. He would fit better into that rather than just in between the tackles, wrecking ball kind of guy, which we used him at last year. But it's time to move on. We can bring in other guys like Tony Pollard. I like Tony Pollard, man. I think I already told y'all that, man. I like Tony Pollard. I like him. I like him. I like him. Coming off of a down year. Come on, man. I'm trying to think like Andrew Berry. Coming off of a down year, which means his price tag is not going to be as high if he was coming off of an outstanding stellar year. This is his first year he's had from underneath Zeke Elliott and that whole thing, and which he should have been starting over Ezekiel Elliott for years, but this was his opportunity. He was getting the reps. He was the number one back. Unfortunately, it was in an offense where they're looking to pass the ball more downfield. Doesn't really turn out great if you're a running back that wants to put up numbers. All right. Why else did he have a down year? Coming off of a broken ankle the year prior. He broke his ankle. This was his first year back after major ankle surgery. Again, not making excuses for people, but they human. That's a human being, man. He some guys just take a year to get that trust back in, or take half of the season just trying to build that ankle back up, or whatever, that ACL, whatever it is that you had that major surgery on. Just taking that time to build that up and build that confidence, build that twitch back into it, where you can cut and pivot confidently. Man, sometimes that takes half the year right there. But Tony Pollard, I'm a huge fan of, man, especially again in the offense that I think we're going to try to run, which you hear Deshaun Watson. He's not on here on these podcasts that y'all keep hearing him chirping on and thinking that he just complaining or whatever, man. I guarantee you that he's in tune with the Browns. He's going on and saying all this. We're gonna throw the ball a lot. And I didn't like the game plan, strategic, pre-planned offensive scheme. And he's saying all that because, man, they didn't already had a conversation, man. He didn't already talk to him about it, voiced his concerns. He feel like they didn't hammered it out, and they moving forward with their game plan, signing guys like Ken Dorsey, letting guys like Stump Mitchell go. All that, man. They not just doing this on a whim. Like, they're communicating. So when he comes out here and he's speaking this stuff, man, he's foreshadowing. Like, come on. He telling y'all what's up right there. We gonna pass the ball. We gonna pass the ball. That ain't just him being like a bad soldier and just spilling, just talking out of line, man. He's saying that because him and Stefanski didn't already talked about it. Him and Dorsey, it is what it is. Tony Pollard would fit perfect in that. Great receiving back. He's a good running back. Be a great change of pace with Nick Chubb. I would love this signing. I would love this signing. Outside of Tony Pollard, who would I love to sign? Which I know these are kind of bigger name guys, as opposed to, man, when you're dealing with running backs, you can kind of get bigger name guys because you don't have to pay them like you would a bigger name wide receiver. Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler, man. You see the numbers. Similar, not similar in the way to Pollard's. They both kind of receiving kind of backs. Eckler is a little older than Tony Pollard. Eckler's 28 and Tony Pollard's 26. But man, Eckler's cold, man. Eckler is cold. Now, he looks small. He looks tiny. He don't look small in this picture I got on here, but he's a little short dude, but man, plays hard. You talking about what Kareem Hunt is, and what Kareem Hunt brought us last year, man. That's feed Kareem Hunt some Popeye spinach and some just a couple energy drinks and a Red Bull, like give him wings, and he turned into Austin Eckler. Like, Austin Eckler runs hard between the tackles, catches the ball well out the backfield. he's a very, very poor man's Christian McCaffrey, if you want to say, man. He big fan of Austin Eckler. I just think with with the Chargers bringing Harbaugh in, that could kind of, they got a new GM as well. That could be kind of a fresh start, a new voice for him to kind of re up, just see how things go. Man, they had an off year. He might want to run it back with the squad, and that would be completely understandable. But if he hits free agency, this is a guy I would love to pick up. I would love to pick him up. Not as much as Tony Pollard, just because I feel like we would have to. Whew, it's hard. I feel like you'd have to pay a little more overall, not just in terms of finances. Like I mean, like you'd have to give this dude some real playing time. Like he's gonna command and want like half the carries all the time, which could be exactly what Chubb needs. But I feel like Tony Pollard would be more of a fit, whereas Austin Eckler is more of an every down back, just like Chubb is, a guy that you could keep on the field first down, second down, third down. Um, Tony Pollard fits more into a role where if you want to have him as a spell back, kind of your passing down back, bring Chubb off the field, man. Tony Pollard fits more into that single role where he thrives. I think he would thrive in that role where Austin Eckler could do it. It's just, man, we wouldn't be able to utilize both him and Chubbs anywhere close to get both of them on the field enough to really be worth having them, man. Austin Eckler is a beast. Other than him getting up there in age, man, if he was younger and hadn't taken as much of a beating as I feel he has, like I said, Tony Pollard has been a backup for a long time, for pretty much his career. He's only 26, but he's been a backup up until this past season. Eckler had to work his way early on, with the Chargers. He had to work his way up. I think he was like third on the depth chart or something, but for the past couple years, like Eckler's been that guy. He led the league in 2021, 2022 in touchdowns. Like he's been that guy for some years. Even though he's been sharing carries, he's been their workhorse. So he's taking more of a beating. But man, either one of these guys, I would love to bring in. It's a lot of guys out here. Zach Moss. It's a lot of free agent running backs. But these are two guys that just stood off the page to me that I would truly love to bring in, and I think it would be realistic as well. Um, as always, y'all know I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate y'all, man. I cannot thank y'all enough for just rocking with me, man. Like I always tell y'all, man, y'all could be watching anything, doing anything, man, but y'all saying here, checking my videos out, and I greatly appreciate it. While y'all here, make sure y'all please like, subscribe. Please like and subscribe, man. That means the world. That means the world when we create these videos, man, for y'all to like and subscribe, comment, and all that. I love y'all. And as always, peace.